You're confused, not broken. And I want to start right there, because if you're listening to this, there's a good chance you've quietly wondered whether something inside you is damaged, whether you missed some essential lesson everyone else seemed to get, whether life handed you a map and somehow yours was blank. And that thought can be terrifying, because confusion feels like failure in a world that rewards certainty, speed, and loud confidence. But confusion is not a sign that you are defective. It is a sign that your inner world is trying to reorganize itself, that something old no longer fits, and something new has not yet taken shape. And the reason this feels so uncomfortable is because nobody teaches us how to sit inside uncertainty without turning it into self-judgment. So instead of saying, I am in transition, we say, I am lost. Instead of saying, I am changing, we say, I am broken. And that story slowly eats away at your sense of self, because when you believe you are broken, you stop trusting your instincts. You stop listening to your inner signals. You start outsourcing your direction to noise, opinions, algorithms, expectations. And the louder the world gets, the more disconnected you feel from yourself. Until one day you wake up and you're doing all the right things on paper, but something inside you feels wrong. Not dramatically wrong, just quietly off. Like wearing shoes that almost fit, but never quite stop hurting. And you tell yourself you should be grateful. You tell yourself others have it worse. You tell yourself to push through. But confusion doesn't go away when you ignore it. It deepens. Because confusion is not the enemy, suppression is. And the more you pretend to be fine, the more fragmented you become inside. Because one part of you is trying to grow, and another part is trying to survive by clinging to what is familiar. And that internal split creates tension, fatigue, numbness, procrastination, self-doubt, and eventually the dangerous belief that you are the problem. When in reality, the problem is that no one ever taught you how to navigate change without turning on yourself. So let's slow this down for a moment. Because confusion is not chaos, confusion is information. It's your mind telling you that the old rules no longer apply, that the strategies that once kept you safe are no longer enough, that the identity you built to survive a previous chapter cannot carry you into the next one. And that moment always feels like something is wrong, because certainty dissolves before clarity arrives. And in that gap, most people panic. They rush to fill the space with distractions, with constant stimulation, with productivity, with comparison, with scrolling, with noise, anything to avoid sitting with the discomfort of not knowing who they are becoming. But that discomfort is not a flaw, it is the doorway, and the reason it feels unbearable is because modern life has trained your brain to expect instant answers, instant validation, instant relief, but personal evolution does not work on demand. It works in silence, in pauses, in moments when nothing seems to be happening externally, but everything is shifting internally. And when you don't understand that process, you mislabel it as failure. You say, I'm stuck, I'm behind, I'm broken. When in truth, you are recalibrating, and recalibration feels disorienting because your old internal compass is being updated. Imagine trying to navigate with a map that no longer matches the terrain. You wouldn't say the compass is broken, you would say the landscape has changed. But when it comes to ourselves, we forget that context matters, that environments shape us. That pressure rewires priorities, that constant comparison distorts self-perception. That living in a world that never stops leaves very little space to hear your own thoughts. So your confusion might not be coming from within you at all. It might be a perfectly reasonable response to living in a world that demands clarity while constantly changing the rules. And when you internalize that pressure, you start fighting yourself instead of understanding yourself. You try to force motivation instead of asking what drained it. You try to discipline yourself instead of listening to what hurts. You try to optimize your life instead of asking whether it aligns with who you actually are. And that's how confusion turns into shame. Because shame says something is wrong with me, while curiosity says something is trying to emerge. And the difference between those two perspectives can change the entire trajectory of your life. Because a person who believes they are broken seeks fixing, validation, permission, while a person who understands they are confused seeks understanding, space, truth. And here's something important that almost nobody tells you. Confusion often appears right before clarity, not after, because clarity requires the dismantling of outdated assumptions. And dismantling always feels like loss before it feels like freedom. It feels like standing in the fog without landmarks. It feels like second-guessing decisions that once felt obvious. It feels like questioning goals you once chased automatically. It feels like realizing that what motivated you before no longer moves you the same way. And instead of honoring that shift, you criticize yourself for changing. You say, why can't I just be like I used to be? More driven, more certain, more confident. But the truth is, you are not meant to remain the same person forever. Certainty belongs to simplicity, and life grows more complex as you grow more aware. So confusion is often the cost of deeper understanding. It is the price you pay for no longer living on autopilot. And autopilot feels easier because it removes responsibility, it removes choice, it removes the need to reflect, but it also removes aliveness, because when you are confused, it means you are awake enough to notice that something doesn't fit. And that awareness, while uncomfortable, is a sign of intelligence, not weakness. It means your inner system is rejecting a path that no longer serves you, even if your conscious mind hasn't caught up yet. And the danger is not confusion itself. The danger is what you do with it. Because many people numb it. They drown it in entertainment, in busyness, in substances, in relationships that distract rather than connect. And over time, that numbing turns confusion into emptiness. And emptiness is much harder to come back from, because it convinces you that nothing matters, that change is pointless. That effort is futile, while confusion at least still cares. Confusion still asks questions. Emptiness has given up. So if you feel confused, that means there is still a part of you that wants alignment, that wants meaning, that wants to live truthfully rather than comfortably. And that part deserves respect, not criticism. But respect requires patience, because clarity cannot be rushed. It has to be lived into. It has to be tested through small choices, through honest reflection, through moments of solitude where you allow yourself to feel without immediately labeling those feelings as wrong. And this is where most people struggle, because sitting with confusion feels like doing nothing. And in a culture obsessed with action, doing nothing feels like failure. But inner clarity is not built through force, it's built through listening. And listening requires stillness. And stillness feels unsafe when you've been conditioned to equate movement with worth. So you keep moving even when you don't know where you're going. And then you blame yourself for not feeling fulfilled. But fulfillment doesn't come from motion. It comes from direction. And direction doesn't come from pressure. It comes from alignment. And alignment requires you to ask uncomfortable questions. Like, what am I actually avoiding? What am I afraid to admit? What part of my life feels performative rather than authentic? What choices am I making out of fear rather than intention? And those questions don't have immediate answers. They stir the fog. They make you feel even more confused at first. But that deeper confusion is actually progress, because it means you've moved from surface-level dissatisfaction to root-level inquiry. And that is where real change begins, not with a sudden breakthrough, but with a slow reorientation, like turning a heavy ship in open water. It doesn't spin on the spot. It takes time. It takes consistency. It takes trust. And trust is hard when you've been telling yourself you're broken, because broken things can't be trusted. But confused people can learn. They can adapt. They can grow. And here's something else you need to hear. You are not confused because you are incapable. You are confused because you are aware enough to sense the gap between who you are and how you are living, aware enough to feel the cost of staying the same, aware enough to notice that the life you're building might look acceptable but doesn't feel meaningful. And that awareness hurts, but it also protects you, because it prevents you from fully numbing out. It keeps tapping you on the shoulder, saying, pay attention, something matters here. And if you keep interpreting that signal as a flaw, you will fight it. But if you interpret it as guidance, you can begin to work with it. And working with confusion doesn't mean waiting passively for clarity to fall from the sky. It means engaging gently. It means creating space for reflection. It means reducing noise so you can hear your own thoughts. It means questioning assumptions instead of automatically obeying them. It means allowing yourself to change without demanding immediate justification. And it means forgiving yourself for not having it all figured out yet, because nobody truly does. They just hide their confusion better, or they mistake certainty for wisdom. And certainty is often just fear wearing armor, while confusion is vulnerability without protection. And vulnerability feels dangerous, but it is also where truth lives. And when you stop treating confusion as an enemy, you stop fighting yourself. You stop wasting energy on self-criticism. And that energy becomes available for exploration, for learning, for experimenting with small changes. And those small changes slowly bring clarity, not because you thought your way out of confusion, but because you lived your way through it. You gathered evidence, you listened to your reactions, you noticed what drained you and what energized you. You paid attention to the subtle signals instead of ignoring them. And over time, a pattern emerged. Not a perfect plan, but a direction. And direction is enough to begin. Because direction gives confusion a container. It gives it purpose. It turns it from a threat into a guide. And that is the shift that changes everything. When you stop asking, what is wrong with me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Because the first question shrinks you, and the second one expands you. And expansion always feels messy before it feels empowering. And if you're in that messy middle right now, if you feel like you're drifting, doubting, questioning, if you feel like you've lost your sense of self, I want you to hear this clearly. You haven't lost yourself. You've outgrown an old version of yourself. And the space between who you were and who you are becoming is not a void. It's a transition. And transitions are uncomfortable because they lack definition. But they are also sacred because they are honest. And honesty is the foundation of any meaningful life. And the reason so many people stay stuck is not because they are incapable, but because they misinterpret confusion as a verdict instead of a process. They conclude too early. They label themselves before allowing the story to unfold. And once you label yourself as broken, you stop trying in the right ways. You seek fixes instead of understanding, shortcuts instead of growth, and that only deepens the disconnect. So let this be a reframing, not a motivational high, but a quiet permission slip. Permission to be unsure without being ashamed. Permission to slow down without feeling guilty. Permission to question without immediately answering. Permission to be in process because you are not falling apart. You are reorganizing. You are not weak. You are sensitive to misalignment. You are not behind. You are early in a new chapter that hasn't fully revealed itself yet. And if you can hold that perspective, if you can treat yourself with patience instead of pressure, confusion will begin to soften. Not because life suddenly makes sense, but because you stop attacking yourself for not having all the answers. And that inner safety allows clarity to emerge naturally. And as we bring this to a close, I want to speak directly to the part of you that feels tired of pretending, tired of pushing, tired of feeling like you should be further along. That part of you doesn't need fixing. It needs understanding. It needs time. It needs a framework that honors growth as a process, not a performance. And that is exactly why this channel exists. Not to shout at you to hustle harder, but to remind you to upgrade your life from the inside out. One insight, one habit, one honest reflection at a time. So if this message resonated, if it felt like it was speaking to something you haven't been able to put into words, stay with us. Subscribe to Daily Upgrade Motivation and allow this space to be part of your recalibration. Because you are not broken, you are becoming. And becoming is messy, uncomfortable, and powerful. And you don't have to navigate it alone.